G'day and welcome back for more Scrapyard survival. And the train needs to continue to grow. I was going to drive all the way back home and try and sort out my charging setup first, but then I looked at the GPS locations of where all the carriages that I need to pick up are, and well, I think it might be more efficient just to pick them all up and then head home and then charge this thing ready for combat. I just have to hope that I have enough power to get to all of them and then make it home. I think there's a reasonable chance of that, but just in case, what I might do is along the way, if I happen to see any scrap, I may try and deviate a little bit towards it, just in the tiny weeny little bit of an off chance that there's a solar panel or something on there, just, you know, just in case. Oh man, this view, watching from this perspective, terrifying, but also loving the way the train conforms to the hills there. It's very, very fun. This, I think, is what I like about this build more than anything else, is just the way that it conforms to the terrain around it. So, I have gone completely the wrong way, which is to be expected when I wasn't looking at where I was going, but also probably to be expected whenever I'm driving. I was going to kind of head towards Yardens next, then probably onto Mount, then FOS, then, then Aimfu, Frosty, Ryber, Verve, then home. And what I need to do as I go along is turn off the GPSs of the places I have been, so that I know where I've been. I don't accidentally go back. I think this is going to be quite a drive. It does give me time to think about what I'm going to do in terms of the little decoy vehicles, because a couple of people suggested, and I think this is probably quite a good idea, especially with the number of extra carriages I'm picking up, of not mounting them on their own flatbeds, but mounting them directly on top of the coal cars. And they can just jump off from there. And then I got to thinking, what if they weren't quad bikes? What if they were just bikes? And then I got thinking, what if they're not bikes at all, but they've actually got a thruster mounted to them, and they're just gliding along on zero friction 2x2 or 3x3 wheels. And I think I might build some of each type of approach, or one of each type of approach, see which ones perform best. Some of the designs may favor someone who has low latency, particularly the hoverbike style design. That's probably going to need someone who's got low latency because they'll have to be constantly keeping it upright. But equally, that sort of design should end up being able to go very, very fast on only a single thruster, but it may need more power. So we'll have to test it a little bit to see how it goes. But I kind of like the idea of building a few different designs, and then I'll just mount simple connectors, or even just mount them on landing gear on top of the coal cars so they can detach themselves and just zoom off, because then I don't need extra carriages that are just going to be dead weight. The extra flatbeds, which is perfect. Does mean it's going to be a little more difficult getting them onto the train, but I've got the nugget for that, so that's not going to be a big issue. Oh, I also realized something I didn't do on my previous ride, and I'm going to do now. Da-da-da-da! Fire! Oh yeah. That's how we do it. But that's really meant to be reserved for combat only. Oh, it's getting a little bit hippie and rock happy there. I'm a little worried about my heading toward Yarden's base here. I think I might have to deviate around. I think I might go the westerly way around this mountain range. I'm just looking at it going, I'm heading due north, and I've got to be getting somewhat close to the pole by now. I can't see it if I fully zoom out, but it does worry me. So I'm pretty sure I remember Yarden saying that they weren't that far from the polar region on the North Pole. Or maybe I'll just go through the mountain. Maybe I'll go through. See if I can do this. That is one thing I should probably... Oh. Maybe I can recruit someone to do a bit of a scouting. Maybe I can... Actually, maybe I'll do the scouting by air myself. And I might make some GPS markers of how we're going to approach the South Pole so that I have a nice clear runaway, so that I don't have to risk driving towards a mountain, and I can know there's a path that I can take the train on that's going to be a clear escape path to get away from the bad guys when they show up. It might well be worth doing the recon. So that's another task to do today. So I gotta design the bikes, I gotta do the recon, I gotta build a charging array, which maybe I'll try and design around something small that can then easily be expanded upon to end up looking more like a full-on train station with a nice charging port. Because I'm leaning towards, and I know a few people are going to be happy about this, but I was always leaning towards this. I'm kind of leaning towards it looking a bit like a water refill thing from the steam train era. Because I think that'll be fun. It's quite pretty driving through these pink trees. Kind of regret not making my base up in a mountain. Just for the pretty scenery. But I gotta say, the lake is convenient. It's nice having a perfectly flat place to build on. Another very clever idea that was suggested to me, which I'm going to employ when I get back home, is setting up all of the potential cabooses. So all of the rearmost cars. Set them up so that I've got a remote control on them and can toggle their handbrakes on and off. It was described to me as, I want extension braking rather than compression braking. I think that was the term that was used. But basically, if going down a steep hill, I engage the handbrake on the rearmost car, it's going to pull all of them taut against my frontmost one as I power down the hill, hopefully giving me much more control and stopping all the carriages from bunching up on each other and trying to push each other out of the way as they go down the hill, which is what usually ends up with a loss of control. So, best to avoid that if I can. Oh, no, that all looks okay. I think I'm making this harder for myself than I need to be. Not sure. I think I'll go this way, though. I don't think I want to go to the north of that mountain range either, and that looks worse than this one. The next bit across. So if we go over this way, hopefully I'll manage that. One of the nice things about picking up these carriages as I go is each of them has fully charged batteries, I think. I hope. So I'm gaining charge as I go along. So hopefully I shouldn't need to worry too much about power as I go. Whoa! Oh! Okay. So, just a little reminder, the rocks that you can see around the place on this planet, they're actually trees. Well, as in the decorate, yeah, they're trees. So I just hit one and almost completely nailed the whole train. But yeah, their collisions are handled the same as trees. Oh, terrifying. It was a very clever way of adding more decorative elements to the planet without having to have a whole bunch of extra voxel details. Very smart idea to come up with using, or replacing some of the trees with rocks. Ah, Yarden's got a drill car. So I need to probably fit that in the middle. Do I do that now or when I get home? Maybe when I get home to make my life easier. Okay. Oh, it's even got a mini turret on it. Didn't see that. Cool. Thankfully it has a remote, so then I should be able to bring this around and hook it up. I'll do a whole reshuffling of all the carriages once I get home, making sure they're all in the most practical order. Oh. Yeah, that could be a problem. Okay. I'm gonna have to reshuffle these right now. The drill needs to sit over something that's actually gonna give it room for that. Which this car does not. This is good anyway, because I was thinking that the drill car should be the third car. The ice that we drill is more valuable than the drill. Probably. Not 100% on that one, but probably. But the drill is definitely more valuable than the turret cars. Now, this isn't liking me because I've messed with its friction on the front wheels. So it's sort of sliding down the hill when I try and misalign it. I wonder if it'll let me grab on now. Yep, good. Let's turn off handbrake. Huh. I wonder if this helm applying its handbrake will actually lock that car. So I don't know whether it'll only apply it to its local grid. So if I go, let's go to second page and we go helm, grab the caboose helm, we go handbrake on and off. And this storm's going to make this a bit annoying, but turn that handbrake on, turn my parking brake off, then try and drive. Hey, it is working. Cool. I have extension braking. Awesome. I also have 4 rail cars. Nice. I really like that the drill is made out of a coal car so that I've got the 3 of them in a row. Yeah, that's a nice touch. Alright, so from Yarden's base, where am I going next? I think I'm heading off to Mount. Off we go. If at some point I realize that the train has gotten too long, I don't know what I'll do. I genuinely don't know how I will handle that. Because it's, yeah. I'm a long way from home and I would like to get all of the cars home. So I guess I just need to get them home and then decide what is too long. I always figured the more cars I can get, the more likely I am to succeed in this ridiculous plan that I've got. Because it gives me more decoys to drop. And not actual decoys, because actual decoy blocks don't work. Basically, the drones that we were facing, they've all got fixed weapons, so they don't care about decoy blocks. They just target, I think, usually center of mass of whatever they're targeting. So there's no point using actual decoys. I need to use a whole grid, a separated grid as a decoy. So with the bikes or quad little rover things that I'm going to put on this, they will probably need to go on ahead of the train to be a distraction before any enemies have actually shown up. But because they're probably going to be using small batteries, I want them mounted to the train initially so that the journey to the pole doesn't use up their battery. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Area is off limits. Turn back now. Okay. I am definitely getting too close to the pole. Off limits area cleared. Okay. I was wondering when I would run into that. Let's head south. Just a touch. Just a touch. Maybe I'll not head to the north of this mountain range and instead either head south of it or through it on the way to mountains. Jeez. That's a scary message to receive at this point. I am not ready to go to the pole just yet. No, no, no. Oh, rocking. Let's not do that. I think what I'm gonna want to do soon, in fact I might do it after I get to mounts, is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna add some braking torque to all the hitches to see if it stops that wobble that keeps developing. See if just having a little bit of resistance to movement will help keep the thing a bit more stable. In fact, I might do it now. Actually, I think I know the problem. Some of my hitches aren't even off. Most of my hitches aren't even off. This has been working with all my hitches on? Okay, I definitely need some braking torque when I do this. It's so weird how that one jiggles around while the rest of them stay perfectly stable. So strange. It's got to be related to the turret up there. But then I would have thought the same would happen with the crane attachments. I don't understand why particularly that second locomotive jiggles like nobody's business. So I've effectively reduced the braking torque, even though I was intending for this to be an increase of it. Let's see if things go any better. So I was effectively running on almost 450 kilonewton meters of braking torque, and now I've gone down to 10. Because having all the hitches on, they use their regular torque as their braking in this instance. Okay, where has Mount left this carriage? Oh, I think I see around the other side. There is something really cool about having a road train like this. in Space Engineers with the way that wheels and everything work. At least when they are working. When it's not working so well, yeah, not so fun. But while it's working well, this is fun. This is great. All right, let's go look for that car. I think I saw it. That's, beefy. Guess this is how I'm going to separate it then. Also, I'm going to get rid of these extra blocks here because that's going to cause me issues. I think for this one, I might have to connect it up around this way. Just at least for the moment, so that the two towers on these two cabooses don't interact with each other. But, oh, what the? That's a separate grid? That's unexpected. Interesting. Okay. That's a deployable... Well, how would you deploy that turret, though? It's not like I can push it off the side. Makes me wonder if a few of us together could actually drag this off the carriage and put it on the ground to leave it as the stationary gunner. Interesting. I may see how that behaves, but it may end up getting merged down to make it actually part of the same grid. But I guess it might have been done this way to prevent control issues. So it might actually have its advantages. And the train has grown. It's feeling like a real train now. Who's next? That looks like FOS. It is convenient that I've been mostly traveling west, so it's made this day last a lot longer than it otherwise would have. But as I start to head south again, it is definitely going to run out. Traveling with this at night is going to be a very different experience. 7 vehicles in a row. How many more can we do? I forgot to set up the wheels on the last carriage. I need to do that. Let's come to a stop. Up. Gently. Oh, okay. Interesting. I hadn't picked up on that before. When I get that little bounce, I'd just been letting it try and settle down itself. But it seems like if I give it a little kick with the handbrake, it seemed to settle it then. I'll have to try that again next time it happens to see if it actually is a consistent thing. This is what I love about playing on a server like this, is that achieving a build at this scale is this much quicker. I know I've taken a very long time to do it, but imagine if I was also designing all of those cars too. This train would have taken months to build. But this way, we can actually get a fairly sizable, very unique construction done quite a lot faster. I won't say quite quickly, I'll say quite a lot faster than I would have alone. Equally though, I'll probably destroy it quite quickly. I really hope I don't lose it. I hope I can keep at least most of the front 5 bits, so that we can do more than one trip with this thing into the ice. Oh, geez, this thing's going to be 11 cars long if I can actually get all of the cars today. That might be too much. I may have to pick and choose what I bring with us. It's funny, when the shadow's like that, you look at the shadow on the left, the second carriage actually ends up looking like a slightly misproportioned little steam train. Steam locomotive. Where is this rail car? I don't immediately spot it. So I'm gonna have to go walk around. Those are all cranes. Interesting rover. Ah, here it is. Here it is. Look at that. Dog excavator. All nice and fitted on. Very, very nice. Oh, this is gonna be good. This is a very top-heavy car, but man. Turning one of the dog excavators into an actual excavator, love it. Hey. Hooked up. And ready to go. Here we go. Up to 8. Where am I going now? I think I'm going to aim for... With this many cars, it's actually becoming quite difficult to drive this train. The tendency for a little bit of a wobble to appear, especially with the number of top-heavy cars that are accumulating, is very real. So I'm increasingly feeling that my best option for making sure that any of these cars survive is to do this as 2 separate trips and to plan it as 2 separate trips. with the hope that the locomotives survive the first one. And if they don't, coming up with a better locomotive to hopefully survive the second trip. Because I've got 2 drill cars, so that means 2 trips are possible. Obviously, if I could go with all of the train carriages, then having 2 drill cars would mean I could get in, get out quicker. So if the drill car survives the first trip, I'll swap them out, but contemplate the idea of doing a super fast trip at some point where we do a double, use the 2 drills and fill up quickly and just get out, hopefully before anything goes wrong. But we'll have to see how the enemy behave with us actually going for grabbing the ice and doing a grab and run versus what we did when we arrived before, which was kind of arrive and be like, hey, this is the ice. Uh-oh, everything's here. So it'll be, there are a bunch of options of how I can do this, but if I can just keep my locomotives alive, it gives me multiple options for doing things after the first trip. Tell you what, with the train being this long, I really do need the extension braking just to bring everything taut again. I've set up the dog excavator's handbrake ready to go, and I have used it a couple of times to straighten things up when I've gotten a few wobbles. I'm trying to use it super early before the wobbles develop into anything bad, because I don't want to risk having it all go very wrong. But so far, enabling it does, and then, well, enabling it and then putting full forward on the locomotive does straighten things out really quickly. So as long as I'm ready to do it, and I set it up to do it fast, it should work just fine. What I think I'm going to do with my hotbar is set up those brakes so I've got each carriage brake set up in order along my hotbars. So I've got it from the number 9 being the last car all the way up to number 1 being the actual locomotive itself. So here we go. We've got a little bit of hill coming down to Amfu's base. So we might get a little bit of wobble going here. So if I slam on those brakes, everything just goes nice and taut. Caboose antenna. That's real cool. That's, yes, old school styles. Oh, with little side guns. Side mounted guns, top mounted guns. Reloading for the guns inside that's manual. Okay, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool indeed. I like it. So when I asked people to design these cars, I did request a, oh, nice use of the little new windows. Like an old school style caboose, like steam era. I reckon this is a pretty good take on it. These buttons. Caboose mag plates, caboose pistons. Ah. It's got its own lifting bit too. Now, does it have the ability to drive though? Does it have a remote? Yes, it does. Excellent. All right, let's detach and drive it around. So I think for the dog excavator car, it's gonna need some more clearance around it. I may, when I get back, have to increase the length of the carriage that it's on so that it can more easily fit in between multiple cars. Because I don't have any other low cars to have the excavator attachment go above it. But what I'll do for now is remove this hinge and I'll extend out the conveyor line several blocks and then just put the hitch after that. Yet another car. Now, where am I off to next? Frosty. That's where I'm off to next. Let's just quickly turn off the GPSs of where we've been. Aim for FOS. Off to Frosty's base. Ooh, I can see the museum from the old, for Zada's locomotive. I think that's at Frosty's base. I have to check that out as I go past. Oh, wow. This is stressful. All your eggs in one basket. Makes me very nervous. Especially when it's other people's hard work that's gone into it. Well, there we go. We got a bit of a wobble going and fixed. It really works. This is why this drive was so useful. Learning these little tweaks and getting some feedback from you guys that's helped me make these tweaks more effective. It should dramatically increase the survivability of this train. I hope. Again, the wobbles started, and we've put the brakes on, and the wobbles are gone. The wobbles are becoming worse. They're becoming more frequent, and they're becoming more dramatic more quickly since I've had this many cars, which is unfortunate, but expected. Oh dear. I've been driving so zoomed out that I didn't actually notice something that was just happening then as I came over the ridge. The thrusters were trying to make my front locomotive take off. It was actually kicking up. I'm too afraid to zoom in again because I can't pick up the wobbles as easily. And I want to make sure that I don't miss any of the wobbles that happen so that I can neutralize them with my braking car. It makes me wonder if I should run with the brakes on permanently and just adjust the friction level of that rear car so that the brakes are able to be overcome with the locomotive, but that it's enough to stop the wobbles. I may need to try that. Feels like something I want to try in a creative mode game. Not on the server though. But I suspect things will run more smoothly in a local hosted game. And that'll make any trials I do not particularly useful. Alrighty, let's have a look around. See if we can see this museum. Where's this carriage at? Ah, here we go. Let's see, cut red blocks, control remote, control to move. Should be shared with all, we don't mind if you repaint, just don't repaint the toilet. Oh. Oh dear. There's a golden toilet. Oh boy, this is another impressively combined large grid, small grid contraption. This one's still on short suspension, so I'm gonna have to rip those off. Possibly that's gonna mess with the ramps for getting on. Oh, I see why it's got a toilet now. Took me a moment. Also got fireworks. That's gonna be interesting. Alright, where's the... I thought the museum was around here. It's this way. There are some incredibly patient combinations of grids here with these ramps. I am definitely going to have to try and do stuff like that in future bases where I'm able to take advantage of grids set up like that. I see a few locomotives, but I'm not... Have I misremembered where the museum was and I could have seen it somewhere else? Is it over in this other building? Go check. Ah, it is. It is. The locomotive that could. Wow. There's a lot less left of it than I remembered. That is a lot less. It's very cool that that has survived though. Tickets, welcome, info. Very nice. So I started to wonder what these controls were for, and I pressed the rotor one, and it turns out that there are these two little stabilizers. I think I might leave them deployed. I've upgraded the wheels to be the larger suspensions, so let's get them a bit more strength. There's a part of me that just wants to leave those stabilizers deployed, hope they don't catch on anything, and if they don't, then they should go some way to preventing a flip, which is important. This thing makes me so nervous. So much harder to fix if anything goes wrong. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2 stops to go. It's a long run back to the back end of the train. When I realized that I haven't set up the wheels properly because I didn't lower the friction on the leading pair. Oh, needing the brakes on both rear cars to fix some of that wobble. But it still fixes. Where is Ryber's carriage? I think this one might have been set up as a decoy. It was either Ryber's or Verve's that was set up as a decoy. Oh no, this one's a turret. Oh, geez, there's something on the road. What am I running over the top of? Oh no. What is under there? Can I grab it? There is a... Oh, it's just a landing... It's fine. It's just a mag plate. Most parts are turned off. Turret controllers are set to not target anything. There is no ammo currently inside. Take everything from the large cargo container to the left. Even the large... I'll leave the cargo container. Whoa, that's a fair slug of ammo. Should be able to chuck that into these. Oh, I was looking at this going, where's my connector? I don't see the connector up there. That's not my carriage. This is my carriage. Cool. All right. Carriage. Carriage is still on small shorts, so I'll fix that up. Oh, extra seating. That is a mean-looking turret. I love it. Is this a turret as well? Oh, it is a turret as well. Oh, with two different... Oh, that's even more awesome. I love the use of the two different Gatling turrets. Gatling guns. That turret. That's cool. So this is a double turret. Meaty. I like it. Oh, wow. This shouldn't work. This really shouldn't work. So how many turrets has this train got now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is ridiculous. Ridiculously awesome, I think. I would think that, but I'm totally biased. There is something that is just so fun about seeing the length of this train as I go through a turn. I should probably turn the thrusters on because I think I need the extra oomph now. This is also probably a point where I need to consider adding, well, enabling the subgrid wheel control script. Because the thrusters are working, but they are doing something weird at the level of the hitch. Like I can't turn when the thrusters are going, because now the lead locomotive isn't heavy enough to pull everything back into line based on its center of mass. So the whole train is now impacting the locomotive instead, which is changing the dynamics considerably. I think what I may do is possibly turn off the wheels on every carriage, or have an option to turn it off on every carriage and just use the second locomotive's wheels as extra wheels with the subgrid wheel control script. Might have to try that after the next stop, because I'm only 3.5 k's away. I'm just gonna keep going as I am. And this is a worrying position to be. I probably shouldn't have driven along the top of this ridgeline. This might have been a mistake. I hope it's got a more gentle slope at some point. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, that is too cool. Oh, that is something awesome. Okay, maybe I should have been on this ridgeline because this actually looks really cool. I think what it is that really attracts me to designs like this in Space Engineers is just, once they get going, how organic everything looks, how much it flows with the terrain, and how much it's not confined to the cubes that we build from. Gotta keep looking back. Feels weird driving something where looking backwards is probably more important than looking forwards in terms of safety. I got probably need more braking because that's wobbling more. There we go. Yep, next time I do this, I'm asking people to deliver stuff for me, or I'm using I'm using the nugget to collect. This was a very it was a useful bit of experience for me, especially watching my train hover, my locomotive hover right now. This was a useful experience in terms of improving my control of the train and everything. But man, has this taken a long time to do. There's the decoy wagon. If I hadn't have done this, I may not have thought of using braking wagons the way that I have been, and it's been extraordinarily effective now that the train's too big for its own good. Like, running alongside it feels... feels big. Feels real big. 1 sparking, 1 smoking, 2 burning. What's inside? Oh, we've got a... Oh. Right. So there's a welder in here with a connector, and there are little decoys up the top. It is a pity that decoys don't work against the drones, but doesn't mean this carriage can't be left behind so that it can do that thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 cars. Even though this isn't how I'm going to go into battle, it is still cool that I'm able to do this even without battle conditions and have it work. Yeah, I've been finding that I've been having to go a bit too slowly for this to be fight worthy, so my earlier suspicions about having to do this as at least two separate trains, were correct. Like, you saw the wobbles that just got started then. It's so easy for that to happen. Even at barely above our Olympic sprinter speeds of our engineer. For the last stretch, I have finally remembered to put the last caboose, the very last car, and turn it into a proper braking carriage where its brakes just remain on all the time to try and keep some tension in the train at all times. And it's been working okay. It's not been perfect. I still need to enable the brakes on the other carriages from time to time to keep the wobble down, but it's possible, once I get this going with a shorter train, setting up the last carriage to be able to do that all the time, braking all the time, that is. So setting its wheel friction to probably 30%, 35% is what I've got it at the moment. So that its brakes are not super strong, but strong enough to put some tension on. That might even allow a shorter train, so say a 6 or 7 car thing, to go at maybe 35 meters a second. Maybe it's the difference that I need to be able to go that little bit quicker, a bit more safely. Question is, am I game to even test that? There's something I want to do once I get down to the flat of the lake, though. I want to see what happens when I drive this in an S. Now, what I wanted to see was, if I've gotten to this point, what then happens if I turn back the other way? Does the whole train nicely follow in an S? Or does it start getting pulled real weirdly and tip? It's actually not too bad. Look at that. It's not the most convincing S, but it's an S. Need spectator cam for this. I wanted it mainly for the sake of being able to see all the carriages closer together. Because that is cool. That's enough of that. Let's go and park this train up. And we're going to start getting ready for giving it some control, give it some charging, and getting those little buggies built to load them up on top of the coal cars. One of the things I hadn't really considered until kind of about right now was where I'd actually put any sort of recharge station for the train. Because I don't really want it behind the bar, and I don't really want it hidden behind the warehouses. Would it look weird if it was out, say, over here? I build more of a line of armor blocks and build it out here so that the train can run along and that kind of completes the sort of enclosed space. Maybe instead of having my bridge over here, I put the bridge here behind the bar. So you enter this way and you immediately see the splitsy sign, and the bar sign is when you come around the corner, maybe? I'm really not sure. I think that's going to be a decent option. At least I can build something and have a bit of a design, an idea of how it might work over there without having to mess around with too much stuff. Obviously going to need to move some of that scrap that's out there, but hopefully nothing too drastic. Might need to move the bus. If I move the bus, I've probably got a clear path. Huh. I could make this sort of a little bit of a pit, I guess. I was just thinking, like, this area here is where I've been putting most of my temporary scrap, but I don't like the idea of having most of that scrap on actual blocks. I want it on the ground so that I can just grind happily against it with, like, push happily against it with the grinder. So instead of that, I think I would rather make sort of a little pit that I put all the things in, which could also be over here. Oh, speaking of little things on the ground, I'm just going to build this line out here and I'll change it up when I need to. I've got my little platform out here, and what I want to build is something that looks a bit like a water tower, but I need to have a small grid conversion fitting inside it. So some way to connect directly to this grid so that the power from the big batteries on the base can be transferred to the batteries on the train. To do that, I need to have the tower kind of lifted up and then hide a rotor in or a hinge inside it, or a connector. And that means I can't think of a way to do that with it being, say, a 2x2 sized water tower. So that's where your rounded armor blocks would fit perfectly. I cannot think of a way to convert to small grid in that format. However, if it's 3x3, where you put a curve and then straight edges, then curves, then straight edges, and have that fit, I think I can fit a rotor in on one side The trouble I've found when I was looking at these curves is the round armor slope block the corrugations go the way that I would want them to. Unfortunately, the plate does not. The plate goes vertically. I'm not sure if they intended to make those go in opposite directions so you can't use them side by side, or if they intended to make them go in opposite directions so you had both options available. But this unfortunately means I can't use plate when I'd rather use plate because then I don't get block edges. So what I'm going to do is lift a 3x3 thing of this sort of making up on stilts. And I was looking at the options I've got for stilts. I've got beam blocks, which, you know, the obvious choice. But I think they're a bit too robust for what most of these things looked like. A lot of them were originally made with timber, but then the iron or steel ones, they're pretty slim bits of steel that managed to fit in there. So I was thinking about truss pillars. Now, ideally what I'd like to do is have two of them in the same block because that would then give me the really nice look and it would be all nice detailed, but we can't do that. So what I thought I would do instead, something like this, where I go one there, one there, one here, and one here, which will look a little bit odd, but then we get, I've gone all the wrong way, another one here and here with the slight offset ones. So this will hopefully create that more rounded shape because it's a hexagon that's reasonably well fitted to the shape that's going to be on top of it. I hope. I think this will kind of hide the grid nature of this. Possibly, yeah. No, it doesn't go that way. Now the train does, yeah, so this should probably be another block taller. I'll start building some ramps and get up there. And we go with our round armor slopes around the outside. Then full armor block there, 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 and there. And a rotor here. And on the outside of all of these, to make sure that the corrugations are running the correct direction, I'm going to put a full plate. So it's all going to sit a little bit strange, I think. But hopefully at a distance it'll still look the part. Then this can lose its part. We can add a small part to it. A small head. And then I can add a little hinge and have a little spout that is used to mount a small connector on that fills the train with water. I don't know why I decided I wanted to do things this way, but I think it's probably from watching too much Thomas the Tank Engine when I was a kid. It also seemed like the most thematically fun way of doing this. The other option, of course, was to go out and steal one of the water towers that's out there, but the scale would have been all wrong and it wouldn't have worked, so that's why I decided to make it fresh. You know what? I'm quite happy with that. Open to suggestions of things you guys think might improve it further, but as a fairly quick basis and not having made something that looked like this at this dimension before, I'm pretty happy with the outcome. Oh, at some point I turned on auto rotate. I was wondering why everything was going so wrong. Ugh. Whoops. It's like, why is everything misbehaving today? Why is everything rotating on me? It's been so long since I accidentally turned it on, I completely forgot it was a thing. So I'm just filling up this gap underneath. We can't easily see the grid conversion bit. And even though this isn't going to be piped, I'm going to use conveyors for the hookup because I think it'll probably look a little bit more convincing than something like the thing my brain isn't coming up with, which is the pillar. Pillar, that's the thing I was thinking of. Straight, and then a hinge out here. Because a hinge out here is going to have the range of motion that I need so that I can lift this up and put it down with ease. I didn't want to attach the hinge straight to the bottom of the plate because then I wouldn't have as much up, whereas this will be able to go up and down nicely. Curve there, hinge on there, just to make connection just that little bit easier. Then connector on the end. Then I need to decide where on the two locomotives I'm going to put this connection point, because it will be one of the locomotives because they're the most likely to, I hope, survive. So therefore, they're the ones that need to be remaining functional and able to charge up. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it having a bit more detail, but overall, I think I'm reasonably happy with it. Not really sure how to add more detail, though. Um, this might help. Put a couple of these railings on either side of this. If you've got any suggestions of little details that I can do with large grid on there, let me know, because it's not exactly reaching the goal that I was setting for it. But it's not too far off, I suppose. Turn that hinge off so that dangles with gravity. Like, looking at the photos I've looked at online of the real world things of this, it's actually really not that far from reality, but it's just that there are some bits that feel like they could have more detail. I could get rid of the frames on one side and put ladders up it. That might help. This is almost when you want Kerbal Space Program style struts so that you can just connect lines from one spot to another to make it look the part. Right? I'm curious, can I climb off the top of this ladder? I'm reckoning I'm going to fall. Nope, just can't climb. Okay. Ow. A little bit better. A little bit. It's not exactly right, but it's a little bit better. Okay, now I've got to drive the train over and get the locomotive lined up. Figure out where this connector's going to go. I reckon it's just going to go on the second loco... Oh, it could go on the front one, actually. So look. I think I can hide the connector fairly nicely in this way I built it. And just put one here. I think that'll do just fine. Doubling back on your own vehicle. Ooh. I made that turn a little too tightly. I saw those carriages tipping. Doubling back on yourself like that feels real weird. It feels like a game of Snake now. Something I probably should have done with that little hookup was make it so that it could move left and right. Because I'm not going to be able to reverse the train very easily. So I probably want it to move left and right instead of being static. We'll see how poorly I do trying to connect up. Let's try and make this a nice wide circle. And that should be pretty good. Oh. Gosh. So close. Hey, there we go. And switch lock. And we're hooked up to the base. The base can now charge the whole train, all of its myriad of batteries. So when I detach any of the carriages, they'll be able to power up and do all that good stuff, which is excellent. Yes. Oh, love that. Love that so much. I hope no one takes this too seriously, because I am well aware that I am using a water refilling thing for a steam locomotive on something that's a replica of a diesel locomotive that's dressed up with atmospheric thrusters, i.e. jet engines. Just think of it as a fuel pump thing. It's fine. I love the ridiculousness of it all. I love the combination of all of that. I think it's how it should be for something like this. I love theme builds. I love them so much. They're so much fun. One of the first theme builds I did making videos in Space Engineers was a volcano lair, which I did all evil and destitute, and it was just really fun. I always, ever since then, have loved doing theme builds like this. Really brings out some really cool options for creativity. Next thing to do is design a couple of little runabout decoy vehicles, and then fix them to the top of the train. I think what I'm going to work on right now is the one with the thruster and the skid wheels. So basically a hover bike. See how controllable it is or isn't, and if it really works, then maybe I'll just make a bunch of them. I was just thinking about where I was going to actually start this build from. And of course, I've got the connector around here that I could use, which is somewhat convenient in that it's small grid and it's connected to the base. But I've also got these light posts as a spot to build off that's small grid in the well-lit area. That should work pretty well, I think. Now, the core of this build pretty much needs to be thruster and batteries. I've got 4 thrusters. To be fair, I could probably use flat atmospheric thrusters, but yeah, I don't really need to, and I've only got 2 of them. But I do need to get a gyroscope onto it as well. So what I'm thinking I will do is begin with the battery, and then I'm going to stick thruster to it and just see how much space I've actually got to work with. And I'll repair this thruster and grab the telehandler so I can lift it up. No, I will fall through the ramp. I think what I want to try and do is get this at the same height as the battery. I'm just trying to think about how this works, because basically battery, thruster, gyroscope, controls. Probably 2 small batteries, not just one. And then I need to mount the wheels on this so that it's got a stable platform. I was thinking 2 wheels. I'm not sure if that's going to be stable enough, because wheels in Space Engineers are spheres, which means they don't create a stable platform as just 2 of them, even though they look like they should. So what I was thinking might be a good idea is to perhaps put 3 on. So let's lay this out a little bit further out. So what I'm thinking is 1 at the front, 2 at the rear. So if we have a 2x2 there, and then we have another one. Maybe either side of this thruster. That'll also give me a way to connect up to the thruster, which is good. I could go with a merge block on here just to connect this up so that I can get the telehandler out of the way. There we go. That was a convenient little snap. So yeah, then we should be able to remove these. And this has created a nice little keep everything at the same height situation for the wheels and the thrusters and all that. In fact, I might move this wheel closer in because I'm making this bigger than it should be. These need to be small. Yeah, the wheel as far forward as it can get, and then these rear ones should go the other way around and be as far back as they can get. My hope is that this should give me a more stable platform, like an actually stable platform that may not even need the gyroscopes to stay upright. So let's test that theory. I mean, I'm not going to call that stable, but it's also not tipping over. So it's a win. Now, for Mad Max feels, which cockpit is going to feel the best? It's going to have to be this one. It's got to be the saddle. Feels too high? This almost feels like I should have made this be the core of the build, then figured out how to put batteries on it. But I don't think I can. Just go with that. This is going to be fun. So I've added 2 more batteries. I've added the gyroscope, turning these batteries on. And I'm going to hop on this. I'm going to see if I can set up these wheels so that this thing doesn't jiggle quite so much, but I'm not sure if that's actually going to be possible. First off, I need friction to be super low. I need strength to be really quite high. Let's go 75. Oop, nope. Let's have numlock off for some reason. There we go. No steering. Any of them at all. Cool. Then I should be able to steer with my gyroscope, and I'm going to need to create a group of the wheels, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to stop. At least not completely. And I'm going to have them on my hotbar as a decrease friction and increase friction, so that I can use my thruster. Oh, nope. Wheels should be off as well, so that I can use my thruster to drop to okay. It's not liking this. Alright, we need to change some things. Let's up the friction so this will stop. Those 2 wheels can't be beside each other. That's part of the problem. Big part of the problem. So, wheels in slightly better position. Let's just put them back in the group. Make sure they're all toggled off still. So, how much power do we have here? Whoa! It's not liking me doing that. Does it like me more on... Ugh. Does not like me on the on the build. Is it better on voxel? Okay. On voxel, this is pretty good. It's got 17 minutes at... Ooh. Yeah, on voxel, this is alright. Though I'm not convinced it's better than actually having wheels. Or fun. This is, Is this a good use of a thruster? I think it might not be. I'm gonna go up into the sand dunes and see how it feels on not a perfectly flat surface. Uh-oh. Well, hopefully not running into anything. That is the other thing. Controlling your heading when you're on zero friction is a bit more challenging. But it's working. Whoa. Oh no. It's not working. Well, that was an inauspicious end to that. So, I'm going to have to build little buggies. Well, after that little bit of stupidity, I think I'm going to save designing the actual rover bike things till just before we go, so that I have to just stick with whatever I make. But it will have 4 wheels. They will be on the ground. They will have to be regular wheels because short suspensions don't really play nice on the server. But yeah, that was a rapid ending. Oh dear. Oh, I forgot. I haven't checked my mail in a bit. And I saw this. Greetings, fellow engineer. We need your help. One of our cargo transports has been intercepted or lost due to incompetence. Case still being investigated. Our sources report its approximate location not far from your position. It was carrying very important to us prototype AI-powered life-size plushie engineer replicas. Interesting. So I might have a look at that next week while I attempt to build a better, or at least functional, decoy buggy rover thing. So there's all that and plenty more to come. And I will see you then.